anything that's parity, one-to-one. So XUSD, obviously, as a team member of XUSD, I've been talking about this a lot lately. The XUSD is a vibratile asset. So same thing as a ratio to pDAI. It's also really, really good. Really, really, really good. So I don't know if I have to mention every single time, but yeah, I'm on the team. I get remunerated for that. So yeah, I think maybe if I just put a disclaimer in the chat, maybe in the description, maybe that's enough. I'm not too sure. So again, same thing. So at the moment now, if we go the XUSD to pDAI, so if you swapped, so obviously at the moment, one XUSD is worth 0.224 pDAI. So I'll take the ratio to the pDAI. It's worth 0.24 pDAI. So what is that telling you? It's telling me that pDAI is stronger than XUSD. It's stronger at the moment. But this also is headed for the one-to-one. This is part of the narrative. But the XUSD is a vibratile asset. So it's not supposed to peg it a one-to-one. It has a different mechanism. So in the same way with affection and pDAI, how there's like a minting and a burning process that happens as it fluctuates above and below, same as XUSD. So the token itself has that built into it. So when the price gets too high above the $1, it'll get burned. Sorry. It will get, so basically to get the value up, it's going to get burned. So burning the token will bring it up, and then once it gets too high, then they'll start minting. So they'll start inflating it, which will bring the price down. So it's kind of doing the opposite. So then it will get minted, so the value comes down, and then when it gets too low, then it will get burnt. And then if you have your vibe pass, you can take advantage and get a distribution of the supply when it gets minted. So if you burn your supply, you will get a vibe pass rating. You will get a percentage of the rewards based on how much you burn when it gets minted up the top, when it's hovering above 1. And so you could either continuously swap this ratio, like sell your XUSD for pDAI back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You could burn and then take advantage of the minting. That's going to depend on how you want to play it. But this is what I love about it, because it's a very, very simple thing where it's going to exist within a certain percentage of the one-to-one region, and then you can just exist in there. Don't have to make things complicated. Just keep things very, very simple. Just have a few things. That's how I like to do it. I like to just have a few things. I've tried to do it where I have like too many Atropa ecosystem tokens or too many Pulsechain tokens, and my brain just gets scrambled. There's just too many things going on over the blockchain. So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to hone in on these particular things, and I'm going to be an expert in those things, and that's enough. Yeah, okay, I might not get my 100x by doing this, but if you can just double your bags here and there, that's pretty damn good. 100x is basically like, what, a double and a double and a double? It's like a few doubles, right? 100x. So if you did this with just affection and pDAI, you double your bag from, like if you did this down here, you double it here, you swap it back, it comes back down, swap it again, you double it again. So you've doubled your bags, you've doubled. So your 1 million goes to 2 million, comes back down, your 2 million goes to 4 million, comes back down, your 4 million goes to 8, comes back up. You could keep doing that. Even comes up here, sell the 8 million for 16 million, for example. So you double it. It's like a very, very simple, straightforward thing. To me, it seems easier and more playable than trying to pick a 100x, because a 100x really is like, we as Hexicans we're almost spoiled. We're like spoiled brats. We had the 10,000x, and now we just think that, why is Pulsechain not pumping? Why haven't I got my 10,000x? We really got like desensitized to how difficult it is. Like a 10,000x is a unicorn, and Hex was a unicorn. And so now we just have an expectation that everything's going to do a 10,000x. And why haven't I found a 10,000x? And, there's these unicorns that are happening all everywhere else, but the core coins haven't pumped, but there's still plenty of things that have like, if you got pDAI when the Moon King was talking about it, or Teddy Bear when the Moon King was talking about it, you've got your 10,000x, or you've got your 100x or 200x or 400x. So, but again, it's kind of the same as just doubling. If you just double a few times, there's your 100x. So yeah, it's just a different way of looking at it. And in my opinion, it's a lot easier way to look at it. So how about the ratio? How about ratioing pDAI with BFF? Nuno, exactly the same principle, man. So so the reason why I like these is because for me, it's a clear distinction. Another really good one is obviously the Atropa and pDAI. So Maria has often spoken about Atropa being 750 when pDAI gets to $1. So in other words, so I'll bring this one up now. So in other words, instead of the clear line being 1-to-1, the line is 7.5, because that means the ratio will be $7.5. If pDAI gets to $1, then Atropa will be $7.50. And so the Atropa to pDAI ratio is also a really good ratio to play in, because if it does get to the dollar, then Maria's saying it's probably going to be 750, then that's also a clear ratio to exist within. So let's have a look at that one as well. I mean, you know, you want to find the ones where it's like, oh yeah, it's going to be like a 10x ratio, but they're going to be like so hard to find. So that's why these 1-to-1 ratios, just to me, are just, it's almost better, because there's more certainty. There's less percentage gain, but there's more certainty, and it's happening more. Like when you have a ranging ratio, that's exactly what you want. So I'll have a look at pDAI to BFF in just a second, but I'll show Atropa to pDAI. I often show this. Now I've drawn the 750, so you can see that it's hovering around the 750. So in other words, one Atropa at 750 is going to be one pDAI at $1. So here, basically, 6.7 Atropa is worth 1 pDAI. So in other words, you can see this here. So if I put 6.7 here, it should say, what? You son of a gun. I suppose it would be like that. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, one Atropa is worth 6.7 pDAI. So this is another good ratio to play in. So in other words, yeah, swapping your pDAI for Atropa here. And if it gets closer to here, then you would swap your pDAI back to Atropa, or if it goes above, even better. So anything down here. And I would kind of, like this sort of area here, I would kind of ignore this, because this is almost like when it was trying to establish itself as when it was trying to lock itself into this ratio. And now the ratio seems much clearer. The range seems much clearer. It seems like it's now kind of existing within this kind of a region. So if it's ever up here where it's kind of swinging, you can see it swinging like, about 2 to 2.5. So I'll do this dashed or dotted. So this is also possibly another good ratio to exist within, especially if you love pDAI and Atropa. And again, I've only just thought about this right now. If you love pDAI and Atropa, yeah, it could be a really, really good trade right now to just, if you're like, I'm just sitting on my pDAI and I don't want to touch my pDAI, or I want to put it in something safe like a liquidity providing position, or I do strongly believe that Atropa is going to get to 750, then you could really swap. You could swap your pDAI for Atropa, and then when it gets up to here, you're basically going to make. It's not going to be a lot, but it's still something. You'll make plus 10%, or plus 11.97%, or thereabouts. So if you've got $1 million, you'd end up having 1 million and 111,000. Yeah, so you'd end up having an extra 111,000. So, well, sorry, 110,000. So That's pretty good. That's exceptionally good, particularly if it pegs to $1. That 11.97%, it doesn't seem like a lot, but if it pegs to $1 and Atropa also gets to 750, that's exceptional. That's exceptional. That's extremely exceptional. So now let's have a look at BFF.delete. So yeah, I mean, like I like these simple ones. That's just me. I like these simple ones, but now we have a look at BFF.delete. Starting to get a shitload of lag. Here we go. Because I know Zach has been talking about this one a lot as well. It's basically just about which token is stronger against the other token. So again, if you go back to the Bitcoin to the US dollar, obviously Bitcoin is very strong against the US dollar because it's now worth over 100,000. There was a point in time where it was very weak against the US dollar and it was less than $1, but now it's exceptionally strong. So again, when you want to have a look at the ratios, you always need to make sure that you click this, because it always by default, whenever you open a new chart, will go to the USD. Yeah, this also is a pretty damn good ratio. So you really don't know what it's going to do, but it definitely looks to be existing within 200% ratio. Excuse me. So yeah, if you swap here and it does a 200%, you tripled your bag. Because remember, 100% is double. So that's a 2x. So then 200% is a 3x. So if you had $1 million pDAI here that you would swap into BFF.delete, and you swap it back into pDAI after it's done a 200% move, then you would have 3 million pDAI. So just like what I do is I find tokens that I like the narrative of, tokens that I like keeping an eye on, tokens that have a lot of liquidity. That's the important part as well. Tokens that have a lot of liquidity and tokens that have like a very clear ratio. And this to me looks like it has a very, very clear ratio. But there's no guarantees because BFF really is like the supply is so limited, whereas, you know, the affection is like, it's very much tied to the one-to-one. XUSD is very much also trying to play on this P stables narrative. So it's it's a very, very clear and easy ratio. Whereas this, it really could go like, it could keep going like this, but also it could also go like this. It really just depends. So, but at the minute, the fact that it's done this now for basically an extremely long time, so almost a year now, and the fact that even here, like the way that it's almost like even the ratios or the initial liquidity setup somehow deliberately locks it into this kind of a ratio. So if you like both, you could provide liquidity for BFF and pDAI, and then just ratio trade it and just keep doubling your bags and doubling your bags and doubling your bags. So yeah, I would look for something with a lot of liquidity, because if it doesn't have a lot of liquidity, then it's a problem. You might find something that's like, oh, what a sick ratio, but there's no liquidity. So you can't really swap enough through it. So you might swap like 1 million here, but by the time you get up to here, you can't even swap that 1 million back because there's barely enough liquidity. So that's why I try to look for things with a lot of liquidity as well. And so, yeah, this is actually not too bad. So good call, Nuno. And then, of course, this is a great one as well because Zach is constantly talking about this as well. $1.54 to bridge at the moment. Finally, cheap. I just got my Centrelink payment. What shall I buy? Nice, man. Nice. Yes, I do remember that I sold my EHEX and PHEX, but I was scared of not having any liquidity to exit. So I sold. I was just getting into crypto when Richard disregarded EHEX, and I truly supported. That's a shame. What's going on, DN Trust, Zella? Understanding ratio trading has been a game changer. It took me like 6 months to comprehend. Yeah, me too, the notorious one. And honestly, more than 6 months. Honestly speaking, more than 6 months. I would like to say just 6 months. I would say probably like a good 3 or 4 months of listening to Somi. and then like a year of watching ratios in the Atropa ecosystem, and then maybe like a few months now of like fully comprehending it. So I would say, yeah, I'm probably a very slow learner. I can't buy XUSD. Every time it can't calculate gas fees and my transaction gets stuck. So very simply, all you'd probably want to do for that is just change your slippage, because XUSD burns every time that you buy it because of the phase that we're in at the moment. So yeah, just bear that in mind. So for example, XUSD, let's say, what do we got here? So PLS. So it's not about how much you swap, it's just about the slippage. So when you're in the right kind of settings, so I think you would go to the settings option here. You would expert mode possibly. Yeah, just if you're watching, just basically turn all of these things on. You can also allow multi-hops. That might get you a cheaper price. And then, yeah, just do this drop down and then edit the slippage tolerance. So I've always got it on 11. So yeah, if your slippage is high, it won't be a problem. I have experimented with that because I have heard people talk about that. And there is a particular way with XUSD when the new epochs come, where each epoch that launches every 6 hours, as you trade within that 6 hour period, you're getting rewarded for trading within that 6 hour period over this distribution phase, which is going to last until the 24th of March. So as I do those trades, I try and do it as soon as epoch launches. I'll just do a whole bunch of trades. But if your slippage is too high, then you get wrecked on your XUSD. But if your slippage is too low, then your trades won't go through. So I've found basically 5% slippage is the sweet spot. So if I put that on 5%, your trade should go through. If it's still not going through, increase the slippage, or make sure that obviously you're going through a route where there's actually enough liquidity. I don't use pDAI. I only use PulseX. I don't use 9mm. 9mm is an exceptional. I've used it maybe a couple of times and I was like, wow, this is actually really, really nice. But I just don't use it. I just use PulseX because I just like PulseX. I like the simplicity of it. So I felt like Vitalik was a hater because of the high gas fees. I never made profit from Ethereum tokens. Tax literally ate up my profits and I left with what I came with. That sucks, man. XUSD is basically a team of, so it's an OG hexagon, Anders. So he's big in that he created love.io, which is the first, well, basically it was like the first altcoin on Pulsechain, Love.io, and it's connected with real world assets. So it's a reward token for a drop shipping. So you basically buy products on there and you get rewarded in Love.io, Love tokens rather. And so he is an OG hexagon, met Richard Hart, and so he's incorporated the principles of XUSD, Hex into XUSD with the dev, and there's also 2 other people on the core team. So there's Anders, Katrina, John, and Nikki. So they're like the core team, and then there's like some other devs as well, but they're the core team. So they're those 4 are like the real creators of it. So a lot of it is surfacing's code. So John surfacing. pDAI and Teddy Bear go up and down together. Does that mean that pDAI does a 50x, Teddy does that as well? So this is the thing. So when you look at these charts, so if we just take the pDAI, so this is the ratio against each other. So for example, here, it's like pDAI to affection is grinding sideways, but at the same time, the pDAI chart is basically going like this, and the affection chart is also basically going like this. But at the minute, the affection chart is less, and that's why, like, it's stronger in favor of pDAI, because actually the pDAI chart is like this, and maybe the affection chart is like this. So that's why when you compare the two together, that's why pDAI is stronger. So it'll be the same as pDAI and Teddy Bear. So even though pDAI and Teddy Bear might be doing this, grinding sideways, individually, Teddy Bear is doing this and pDAI is doing this. It's just that one here is slightly stronger compared to the other, but they're still doing multiple X's. That's the thing. So whether you're on this side of the trade or that side of the trade, does it really matter? No. That's why it's like, you know, doing it simply in this, where it's just like, oh, I can just double my bags and double my bags and double my bags. You're still sitting on something which is probably going to do like a 50 to 100x, but now you're just doubling it here, doubling it there. And that's how you're going to get your 100x, your 1000x, your 10,000x. No, I don't. I don't believe that pDAI and Pulsechain will peg to $1 soon. I hope it will happen within this bull run, but I do not sit in the camp that says it's gonna get pegged tomorrow. I think it's just, no, I don't believe that. I know that you can do it in the code, but I just my understanding of liquidity, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it being plausible. I think it definitely can. I think it definitely can. I mean, the guys who are working on PMaker, I think that they can certainly make it happen. So I don't get out of bed any less than a 10,000x, Matt. Exactly, bro. I don't get out of bed for anything less than a 10,000x either, man.